How many of you are from out of town? How many of you are from out of state? And out of the country? Out of this world? Out of your minds? And how many of you have ever felt alienated or alone in a new environment? Wow, that's just about everybody. I've definitely felt the same way. My name is Tracey Garbutt, and I am an international student from Canada. I'm also a transfer student, which just means I didn't begin my degree here. I'm studying psychology and international studies, and I was a video game artist at EA Sports in Vancouver, Canada. At this school, I started an organization called Big Sisters of Psychology, which has been the most amazing experience. Let me tell you about my story. So I was really excited to go to a couple of schools in the US. Of course, I was excited about the weather. I could wear flip-flops almost all year round. That was very exciting. But I was excited about the potentials and all the people and the vibrant exchange of ideas. And I thought, my God, I'm actually even going to find out what this tailgating thing is that we don't have in Canada. So the semester began, and I dove right into my work. I wasn't really meeting any people, but I thought that's okay. I like my solitude. I'm an independent person, and I'm super busy, so that's all right. So the second semester went by, and I still wasn't really meeting any people. And I started to wonder, did I miss a memo, or did I get left out of a mail out or something? I wasn't exactly sure what was going on because I mean, I know I'm an international student, but I'm fairly well-traveled and I can strike up conversations with just about anybody. So why was I feeling so alienated and alone at this beautiful university, feeling like I was on the outside looking in? I don't know why, but I felt like an isolated cog of a giant machine. In my classes, I loved many of my professors. I still love many of my professors. I'm graduating in a month. But the way the school system is set up, the academic system in general, it doesn't really allow for a lot of opinions, creativity, and innovation. And I had just come from an industry-leading company that thrived on just exactly those things. They celebrated all the different types of minds, and that's how the company would revision itself over and over. And here, and I'm not talking about this school specifically, I'm talking about any school really, I was feeling like I honestly had a learning disability because I was drowning in the mountains of reading and writing and decoding academic text. I felt like the truest part of me that is so creative really didn't have a voice. It was almost like I didn't belong in this system. And I wanted to be a part of it. So the result was I began to withdraw. I became more insecure and anxious in my classes. And I felt like I was losing my innate voice. So I wondered how many hidden visionaries, game changers, innovators, uniquely talented people, and people who think differently are drowning in this rigid, singular academic learning system. And I wondered how many other people were walking around the same hallways as me, feeling alienated. wondered how many people looked perfectly well-adjusted but were harboring deep self-worth and anxiety issues. I also wondered, were many of us going to graduate keeping this big secret that we were learning knowledge at the expense of our self-confidence? So I had to ask myself, is this just me? Or are there more people like this? So I began to look for clues. Clue number one, I just started asking a lot of people. And you would be amazed how many people feel disconnected from their school for one reason or another. Clue number two was more of a story. I was at another school. It was a few years back. I was noticing these symptoms around me, and I was in a positive psychology class. We were preparing a volunteer project in the greater community. And I proposed maybe we should look at this problem in our own backyard, this problem of anxiety and depression with the students. Maybe we could find a way for them to meet each other and not feel so alone. My thinking was that if we light our own light bulbs, then we will be more available to those who really need us in the community. I received opposition at first, which was fine. But then there was a moment I will never forget, when this amazing young woman stood up from behind her desk. She rarely shared in class. And she said, "I've never felt so alone in my life. I want to do this project." And then a lot of the students rallied behind her. Clue number three. About a month ago, some of you may have seen this, a viral video came out. A high school student named Dennis Esteman created a club called We Dine Together so that no students would eat alone in their cafeteria. Beautiful video. When I looked, that video had 6 million views, over 6 million views in under 9 days, and I think it's because all of us can relate to that in one way or another. So what does the research say? Well, according to the American Institute for Research, an average of 40% of degree-seeking students are dropping out and not completing their degrees. 40% is a massive number. That means in a school of 5,000, 2,000 people who were just like all of us, who were excited to go to school, left for one reason or another. And on top of that, it ends up costing the US a whopping $2 billion a year. So I looked for some other studies. In one peer-reviewed study, I found that self-concept or self-esteem is the greatest determinant in undergraduate student happiness, above and beyond academic success and financial security. In another peer-reviewed study, happy social relationships, now I have to say, this is not cyber relationships, these are human relationships, are infectious and have a ripple effect of up to 3 degrees of separation. So that means that happy social relationships do make a difference in the world. And of course, without even saying, they affect our self-concept. So helping ourselves does help all. And by the way, this study right here was a 20-year, multi-generational, longitudinal, over 5,000 plus participant study. In a final peer-reviewed study, this author states, a caring, supportive, and welcoming environment in a university is critical in creating a sense of belonging. He also went on to state some ideas and solutions, which were improved wellness centers, better student-teacher ratios, and programs for high-risk students, which would be minorities, first-generation students, and first-year students. It doesn't cover transfer students, and I think that there's still something deeper going on. So back to that girl who stood up and said she'd never felt so alone in her life. So what happened then, we all dispersed within an hour. We had made several groups, and we were going to create booths different booths for students to get to know each other. I've always been so inspired by Soul Pancake, created by Rainn Wilson of The Office. And if you haven't seen it, they have a division called street stunts, where they basically find creative ways for people to meet each other in deeper, more meaningful ways. And so we modeled each one of our stations off of a soul pancake street stunt, and here's one right here. This is called Take a Seat, Make a Friend. They put it out in the middle of a street, two strangers jump in the ball pit, and there are either questions or statements, such as, find something you have in common. So this is Soul Pancake's version right here. This is our version. Oops. This is our version. It's a blow-up pool, some finger painting. But you know what? This pool was filled all day with students. It was the last booth to be taken down. One of our other stations, for students that didn't like getting close and interacting in that way, was a giant quote board. And it was beautiful because students had a different way to express their voice and for others to read what they had to say. And the school ended up keeping it as a work of art for several weeks. So now I found myself at this school, and now I was the one feeling alienated, and I thought, what am I going to do about this? So I thought, I tried some clubs, and they just weren't right for me. So I thought, okay, I want to make a club, but I want to make it different. I don't want anyone to have a hobby. I want them to be able to come and relax and just be themselves, where we can have deeper, meaningful discussions. We can build connections. Maybe we'll even meet mentors. We can take off societal masks, and we can take off the academic pressures, and we can just be more real. So with the help of a few amazing students, we launched the club, Big Sisters of Psychology, at this school. Now, we accomplished our goals through 4 main things. One of those is called Big Talk, which we got from Kalina Silverman, which is a wonderful idea. It's skipping the small talk and getting to deeper, meaningful, heartfelt discussions. And I think a lot of you probably saw a lot of these today, the Big Talk cards. This one is, what was your childhood dream and how has it changed? So that was one way. We use these cards in just about every meeting in different ways, but definitely to help people get beneath everything else to our humanity and those things that join us. The second thing we did, we actually watched TED Talks because we want to bring foresight, innovation, and learning to our group. The third thing, we were really interested in having candid, new style of relationship with faculty, staff, and guest speakers. We weren't necessarily interested in their expertise. We were interested in who the people are underneath. We wanted to know their life lessons. What were their turning points? What is their life insight? We wanted to bring that to the students in a new way. Fourth, we organized random acts of kindness, and one of our favorites was called the Sunflower Project. So our students gathered up all of these cards. They wrote inspirational quotes. They tied them to a whole bunch of sunflowers. And then we marched out and took them around the school to unsuspecting students. Another thing we've done, we partnered with Student Affairs because we felt it was really, really important for students to learn about their own innate strengths and to find the language around them so that they could have that for interviews, resumes, but most importantly for them to know themselves better and to be able to advocate for themselves. Another thing we did in a separate meeting, we discussed the nature of consciousness in any way that the students want to, and we do meditations. A new thing we're doing, we take our Big Talk idea and we sort of have like a speed friending kind of exercise that we do. We took this to the newly formed international club, and sitting in this picture are 8 different countries talking about deeper, meaningful, introspective life questions. And about a month ago, we recruited for our first ever USF St. Pete's Secret Street team. And basically this was like a flash mob, but no dancing. It was a Big Talk flash mob. We put together 8 different clubs, faculty and staff, and we targeted the cafeteria. We usually have just static ads playing on a big screen, but instead we took it over and we played a 6-minute, deep, heart-opening video before the street team came down with the big dock cards and dispersed amongst all the students and began having a new type of conversation. So now I'm going to show you the video of our first street event. So what are your big ideas? What's your sunflower project? Perhaps you should be the one standing up here giving us some of your ideas so we can implement them too. When we are more aligned with who we really are, we become better, more inspired, more motivated stewards of ourselves, of our communities, and of humanity. I believe this is the first step in saving our hidden visionaries. Maybe it will be us. Maybe it will be the students who teach the world how to transcend our divides and erase the artificial boundaries that stop us from connecting. If we can't turn this giant supertanker around that is the university system, perhaps we can plant some small, impactful changes. I believe that even a small investment in student programs that help students to know each other and themselves in more meaningful ways can not only help students feel a sense of belonging, but can help universities envision and evolve themselves without the cost of long-term, ultra-expensive research. Imagine a place, a time where all of us are still doing what we always wanted to, what our childhood dream was, or the evolution of that, because all along the way in schools, there were groups there to keep that dialogue of the heart's yearnings open. At the Oracle of Delphi, inscribed at the Temple of Apollo was a phrase, "Know thyself," not know thy job market, not know all the expectations of all thy surrounding people. Now, sometimes some of those things are important, of course. However, those are not the things that make us resilient in life. First and foremost, it's knowing ourselves. I believe it's very simple, but it's got big potential. It's a simple idea, but it's got very big potential. We've just lost sight of it, and it's high time to bring it back. So instead of a system where students are dropping out in outrageous numbers, instead of them feeling isolated and alone, anxious, depressed, unworthy, and overlooked, we can look upon a healthy system and community that keeps its students who feel like they belong and they are pursuing meaningful goals with confidence and joy. Thank you.